The Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, upheld as legal Ghana's military cooperation agreement with the United States of America. The Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC in 2008, Broja Jemfi, sued government, insisting the agreement was not in the interest of the state. He urged the Apex Court to set aside that agreement. A 7-member panel of justices presided over by Chief Justice Kwesi Eninyeboa this morning described the case as unmeritorious. But how did we get here? Here is a background to the case. The intercepted document urges Ghana's parliament to, quote, respectfully consider and approve the agreement between the government of the United States of America and the government of Ghana. If that is approved, here are brief highlights of what the United States gets from Ghana. Unrestricted access to a host of Ghanaian facilities, wide-ranging tax exemptions to the United States military. U.S. military will use Ghana as a base for staging and deploying forces. Ghana will bear the cost and take primary responsibility for securing the U.S. facilities in Ghana. Ghana will provide unimpeded access to and the use of agreed facilities and areas to the United States forces and contractors. The agreement allows U.S. forces and their contractors to undertake construction activities and make alterations and improvements to agreed facilities and areas. The United States contractors shall not be liable to pay tax or similar charge access within Ghana in connection with this agreement. On imports and exports, the U.S. forces may also import into and export out of and use in Ghana any personal property, equipment, supplies, material, technology, training, or services in connection with the agreement. Such importation, exportation, and use shall be exempt from any inspection, license, other restrictions, customs duty taxes, or any other charges within Ghana. Aircraft vehicles and vessels operated by or at the time exclusively for the United States forces may enter and exit and move freely within the territory and territorial waters of Ghana. In terms of radio spectrum, the United States forces can also use Ghana's radio spectrum free of charge and have unimpeded access. Ghana has to accept as valid without a driving test or fee driving licenses or permits issued by the appropriate U.S. authorities to military personnel as well as civilians and contractors. In a nutshell, the document says the USA wants Ghana as a base for staging and deploying forces. What does Ghana get in return? Facilitation of training, maintaining unit of readiness, continued exercise, and other military opportunities, the document says. It continues, enhanced and fruitful security cooperation between Ghana and the U.S. Also, exchange of information and conduct of joint operations to combat terrorism. The Defense Minister, Dominic Mitiwu, says Ghana gets a $20 million package, even though that is not stated in the agreement cited by JoyNews. So how does the legal team feel about the Supreme Court's decision? Elik Blim Agbemava is lawyer for the Ashanti Regional Youth Organizer of the NDC, Broja Jemfi, the man who sued government.
What do you make of the decision of the court?
We can't make anything out of it because the Supreme Court did not give the reasons why it dismissed the case against the government.
But does this end the matter for you? I mean, once the court essentially is saying that there's nothing wrong with the agreement?
Well, they dismissed the case, and we don't know why they did that because as it is now, we've not been afforded, the opportunity to look at the reasons. When we get the reasons, we will know why the Supreme Court is saying that an agreement that was not even signed by the government of Ghana is a legal binding instrument on the government or the state. I think in the coming days, we will be able to expatiate or explain or even question what the Supreme Court's decision has been. But for now, I can't engage in any technical analysis of the decision.
That's lawyer for Broja Jemfi, the man who sued the state. So Let's find out from the man who signed this agreement. I mean, what really has the nation benefited from it? One of the key concerns of people was that the U.S. government was getting much more than Ghana was getting in return. Dominic Nitiwul is Defense Minister, who joins me on the phone. Sir, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, first of all, I'd like to find out what you make of this decision by the Supreme Court.
Anyway, so first of all, let me start to say good evening, really late afternoon to the people of Ghana in the video, and wish them the best of the year. Looks like this is the first time I'm speaking on your show for this year. So I'll take this opportunity to wish them the best of the year. For me and those who work in the ministry, of course, the Ghana Armed Forces, and I believe so for the petitioners as well, it should serve as a relief for everybody that finally the Supreme Court has ruled and put the issues to bed so that everybody can at least go on with his daily life and go on with whatever he needs to do. It's good for us, good for the beneficiaries in America, as well as the beneficiaries in the Ghana Armed Forces of Ghana, and also even those who took the matter to court. And of course, the ministry as well, and the government. I couldn't have wished for a better result. I always knew that once it went through all the stages of our governance system, it would be very, very difficult to say no to it. But our laws are the masters of the law when they interpret the Constitution. And so we are just all hoping for the best. And once they have spoken, I think that we should put it to the back burner. We should move forward as a nation. It was unfortunate that people misunderstood it in their own way and things went the way it went. But all this should serve as a lesson to everybody and all of us.
Okay. So the lawyer for those who took the case to court, if you heard him just say that the agreement, well, he said, first of all, an agreement that was not signed by the government of Ghana has been accepted as a legal document. I'm not sure if you understand what that means. Was it not signed?
Well, I don't understand what he means. Maybe he is the one, because he took it to court, argued his case and lost. So, like he said, I do not want to go into the merits and the merits of the case. But I think anybody who takes a dictionary to look at the word rectify, not with the E, with the A, the person would understand what this whole thing is about. So I don't want to go into the details.
Very well. You did indicate that it's about time that Ghanaians moved on. In moving on, a lot of Ghanaians, if not everybody, wants to know how beneficial this has been to the country, because one of the major concerns back then when this story was brewing in 2018 was that the U.S. government was getting much more than its counterpart here in Ghana. So let's look at how the agreement has played out in view of, first of all, the fears that people had and the benefits that we've had, essentially. How has it benefited Ghana?
Gifty, straight away. I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians did not even know the agreement was enforced. And that's precisely what we kept saying, that when the agreement is enforced, you will not know. Because people were misinformed that some Americans or some people from outside were coming to invade Ghana, were coming to be all over Ghana. Every day you see them on the streets. They'll be in our discos, they'll be in our cars, in our pubs, and in our daily lives. I mean, we try to explain to people that it is not so, but some people would not just believe. That's why people have gone on demonstration all over across the country. But like I said, it is past. It's been very beneficial to both of us, that is the American government, and to the people of Ghana. We are allies. That's the first thing you need to know. And you need to understand that this is the security document. This is a cooperation between two countries in the field of military-to-military relationship. That's the first thing we've got to know. That is a cooperation between two countries. It's a cooperation between two countries in the military-to-military relationship. It is not an ordinary thing. I kept saying one thing. It's not an ordinary relationship that you are looking at. It is military to military relationship. And so the benefit may not be very obvious to you and myself, except when you ask questions. For example, very few Ghanaians are aware that the level 2 hospitals that we, for example, displayed at Elwak Stadium was donated by Americans in February this year. Very few people are aware, and it's actually in the document, that they will scale up our military relationship. Very people are aware that all the exercises we have been doing with the Americans, from Operation Obangamin to Operation United Accord to the Navy exercises to the field exercises to Ashanti exercises, have all been scaled up. And so our preparedness, the military preparedness to make sure that Ghana is safe, and Ghana has access to the very top technology that the Americans would allow and their allies to have. We are part of it. Very people who are aware that we have been offered the chance to be given military boots, we have been offered the chance to be given military equipment, we have been offered the chance to be given several things because of this very agreement. Very people are not aware. Very people don't know that our scholarships to study in military field within the American, what we call scholarship, military scholarship, especially for officers, has gone up threefold. Very few people know that. So the benefit to the average Ghanaian is that our military is not sharper. Our military is being trained more or less. Of course, we are also training the American military because it was a symbiotic relationship. It's not just one way. If you go to Ashanti, unless because of Corona, the Americans used to come to Ashanti, our general welfare school, and we used to also train them as well in what we believe we can do best. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. But like I said, it is a relationship that we exist not just with the United States, but with other countries. We have military cooperation agreements with several countries: Liberia, Nigeria, Holland, China, Russia. Name them. We have relationship with almost all these countries. The difference between what happened and what has been happening is that people used to sign these relationships in the dark. They just come and then they hide and sign, and then it goes on. But we chose to take it to the people of Ghana, and that's Parliament, to approve of it. And I think that's the right thing we did. Okay. So that's how it came out. If I decided to sign this very agreement in secret, like what previous governments have been doing, including just the immediate past NDC government, like a lot of Ghanaians will not even know that this is going on. Like I said, for the past 2 years, this agreement has been enforced, but people are not aware that is there. It's because that's how the military operates. That's how the security operates. They'll protect you. They'll make sure Ghana is safe. They'll make sure terrorists don't come. They'll make sure bad people don't come. But they do this in the cover of agreement with our allies.
So you're saying, in effect, that because of this agreement, that Ghana's the safety of the country, in a nutshell, as far as defense is concerned, is sharper than it used to be.
Of course, we believe that it's not. We believe, we know that it's much better than it used to be, because, you know, the first principle of every human being is their life, and so the first duty of a government is to protect its citizens. Then any other thing can continue. Then they will provide food for you. Then they will look for shelter for you. They will provide clothing for you. They will make sure that if you are not safe, there is nothing that goes on. God forbid there's a war in this country. Every other thing will come to a standstill. So the first and most important duty of every government, every state, is to make sure its people are safe.
Okay.
But it's also invisible, because what they do is invisible. You may not see it, but that's the job that they do.
All right.
It largely rests with the armed forces to do that, especially external aggression. So for us, the fact that we are fine with an ally who is now working very closely with us makes Ghana much safer than it used to be.
And our position as far as our preparation against any, or our anti-terrorism preparation has been, you say, has been better off because of this?
Tremendously. It's not just America alone, trust me. It's not just the Americans alone. The British are doing it with us, the French are doing it with us, the Russians are doing it with us, the Israelis were here with us, but the Americans are doing a lot for us. It's all because we have an agreement. With that agreement, there's no way they can do that, because you see, they have to go to Congress And there must be a reason why they're spending their taxpayer money on Ghana. Because if you don't have an agreement with Ghana, there is no way you can spend your money on Ghana. So for them to even spend $1 on Ghana, there must be an agreement. And that's the agreement that we signed.
Very, very well. Let me just bring you to a few of the concerns that Ghanaians raised back then when this issue became topical. So in these documents, and these are facts from the documents that was sent to Parliament, they unrestricted access to Ghanaian facilities and areas, for example. Which facilities and areas are they having access to as we've rolled out this agreement?
First of all, it was a specific request that was made. And that specific request was for an Air Force hangar that has always been reserved for the use of foreign troops. The Americans used it, the Chinese used it, the Germans used it, everybody has been using that particular. We don't use it. We normally reserve it for them. So the Americans signed an agreement with Ghana in 2015. The person who attended the signature in 2015 for that facility was Hannah Tete, the then foreign minister. She signed it. So this agreement put together all these agreements because they have series of different agreements, 98, 2000, 2001, 2015, 2014, and another one, 2016. They put all this together and said, let's make one master agreement. So that particular facility you are talking about was signed off between the government of Ghana and that of the United States of America in 2015. That is the Air Force hangar you are talking about. And that is what they said, look, if you have given us this hangar in 2015 to be using for our work, then please let us have unrestricted access to it. We don't want the situation whereby when we are coming to Burma camp or we are entering into that, because you can only go to that place through Burma camp or you have to cross the tarmac, and nobody wants people to be crossing the tarmac, human beings to be crossing the tarmac. So you normally pass through Burma camp to that place. So when we come through the place, give us access, allow the Americans to guard their own facility because we've given it to them. That's basically what that whole thing was about. So that's what they are using now. They use it to store their equipment, they use it to store their things, they use it to store their consumables, they use it to store food, vegetables, ration for their people that they normally bring these things and supply. Remember that American soldiers are all over West Africa fighting different groups of people. Terrorists, Boko Haram, different groups of people. And people need food, people need water, people need ammunition. They need different things. And so they store this. And it's not just Ghana alone that has this kind of agreement. Different countries. I was a bit surprised that people decided to politicize it. Nigerians say they never politicize it. Togo the same, they never politicize. I was a bit surprised, but that's Ghana for you.
Right.
We'll take it like that.
So in terms of facilities, what they have access to now is the Air Force hangar. But how many troops are here? How many American troops are here for this agreement?
Americans are not staying here. Like I kept saying, the Americans are not staying here. It is not. They don't stay in Ghana. I've always said it and said it several times. It's not a base where they are staying permanently.
But one of the things that the document talks about is the fact that they asked for a space where they will be able to, a base where they'll be able to do deployment, etc. Haven't we had any of that yet?
They never asked for a base to be able to deploy. Never. Look at the document very well. They never asked for a base where they can deploy. We have not had an agreement with the Americans to have a base where they can deploy. They are not deploying to Ghana. No. They asked for a place.
It says for staging and deployment.
I'm coming. They asked for a place, for example, and which is right. If you have about 500 American troops, for example, coming from, say, Niger or Burkina Faso, to come and get into the aircraft and move, and they are in uniform, you don't want them to go to the civilian section. You have to have a place for them. And so, for example, giving them the old Terminal 1 and then other military things like that, that's what they do. And then they use it for that kind of thing. And the Minister for Aviation said it in Parliament. So it's not a hidden thing that, look, we've asked them to use Terminal 1 so that you don't see people, military people, doing that, because once in a while, they come for exercises. Sometimes, the last time they were in Ghana, they were close to 800 to do an exercise with us. You don't want military people, because you don't want military people to come and mix in with the civilians wearing uniform and carrying guns. We don't want that.
Okay.
If you go to most countries, there is a military base. I'll give you an example. Kotoka was a military base. It was an air force base. But instead of Ghana building an airport, a civilian airport, we converted that to the airport. So the military now have to cohabitate with the civilians. So we don't have a military base in Accra where the aircraft can land and move. For example, if the president were traveling, the president would not have used our commercial airport. He would obviously use the military base. If you go to South Africa, you go to every country, that's what they normally do. If you go to Takoradi airport, as we see today, is a military base. But because we don't have a civilian airport in Takoradi, that's what they are using. Tamale Airport was a military base. They've just turned it into a civilian one. So, for example, if military people are coming, they will land on the same tarmac just as the civilians will land. So if Kotoka, for example, remained a military base, and we had, for example, an airport at, say, Pram Pram, you will not even know the military people are landed. But because we are coexisting, then you have to look for a place to give to the military people. Otherwise, we will do that. For example, I've been thinking very fast that, look, we need to have our own military base, Air Force base, where the military planes will be taken off and taken off. Because you cannot keep the situation where soldiers will be holding guns and be walking around civilians. It's not done anywhere. Go to Heathrow, you don't see it. Go to JFK, you don't see it. Because they have their military bases where their aircraft take off and land, the military people, where the commander-in-chief will take off and land. That's how it is. So when they ask for these facilities, it is because they know that we are coexisting. And so you would have to ask for separate facilities so that at least their people can land and move. What we call stage, it's a military term, stage for a stage, and then they will move. That's all that it was about.
Right. And so these 800 people that came in, you said that they don't live here. So they just come in and go.
Do you see them? Do you see American troops around here?
Obviously, like you said, it doesn't really show. These are military operations, so certainly it won't be obvious to
but if
ordinary eyes.
You would see them because they would have gone to town. They are not robots. They would have gone to town. They would have been maybe trying to enjoy themselves. You know how
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Americans, trust me, Americans love life. They would have gone to the disco. They would have gone to town. They would have gone to eating your restaurant. They would have seen them in beaches. At least you have seen them. They don't live here.
So what I wanted to find out was whether or not that 800 you mentioned that came for the exercises, it's a periodic thing. They come in and go, or...
Oh, they come and go. It's not, even this year they would have come to do it because of the corona. Otherwise, they would have come to do it. They come and go. They come and go. Some do it with the Navy, some do it with the Army. And so they come and go. Air Force is trying to work on an arrangement where they come and do with the Air Force as well. So they come and go. It's a periodic thing, and every year they come and do that, and then they go.
Yeah.
And we don't do it only with the American, we do it with other countries as well. Okay. But like I said to you, these things are meant to sharpen your troops. They are meant to give your troops the best. Okay? So it helps us, and then you and myself get protected.
So just a quick one also before you go, and I really appreciate the time you've taken to explain these things, but just a quick one is government going to renew this contract when it expires?
If you look at the contract very well, we did not put a contract, an expiry date. Look at it very well.
Okay.
The contract is very clear. If government of Ghana decides that we are not more interested in this contract, we'll give them 1 year notice, and that's it. It's abrogated. So at any time that any government comes, I hear that the NDC said they were going to take me to court in the future that they ever win the election. They will jail me and jail Akufo-Addo and blah, blah because of this agreement. I just hope that one day when they come and they think it's not good, they can cancel it. I don't have a problem. We don't have a problem with that. But as NPP government, we think it's a good agreement, it's helping us, and we'll move on. And I think that the people of Ghana have been vindicated, or at least we those who do that, they should have been vindicated by this, by the results or by the judgment that was given today. But like I said to them, anybody who thinks that it's not a good agreement has the option to stay out. We didn't want to skip 10 years, 5 years, and tie anybody's hands. We just give 1 year notice. So essentially, it is a rolling agreement. It's a 1 year agreement that is rolling. That's the meaning.
Okay.
It means it's a 1 year agreement that is rolling. So every year you just write at the end of that year.
If you're willing to
January,
go forward.
By December is gone.
Okay. Right. Mr. Nitiwo, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for taking the time once again to explain these things to us. Dominic Nitiwo is Defense Minister. The man has signed this agreement into being, and as you've heard, a very elaborate explanation on how it's been going so far. So there's no military base, he says, but Ghana's military has become sharper. We've also helped the U.S. He says our anti-terrorism preparedness is even better than it is back then. There's more on our other platforms on both radio and TV. There's more at myjoyonline.com if you do log on. My name is Gifty Andopia. It's always a pleasure coming your way.